It's mid-July, and surprise, surprise, it's hot and it's humid. And we're even seeing some thunderstorms, and this is going to be the story for the next couple of days. In fact, I think especially on Tuesday, it's going to be brutally hot across much of the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic states. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about a break that's coming later this week. We'll take a look at the tropics, and who knows what else will come up tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. Which is brought to you by Tempest by Weatherflow. The revolutionary Tempest weather system is yours for the liking, and get one. And you'll join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link is on the description to this podcast. Use the coupon code.
Summer 2024.
If you do, you will get
10% off. Yes.
And Joe's wearing a tie tonight. I'm wearing my Georgia t-shirt that I bought in Helen a few years ago, and it fits better now than it did a few years ago, which is a plus. Anyhow, I got a question. How are you dealing with the humidity? Because that we've had some days where temperatures haven't gone to 90, so there isn't one of these long streaks, but the humidity has been just unrelenting.
Well, I'll tell you on my weather station here in Putnam Valley today, the high temperature was 91. Now we've had hot days. I'm not sure if this was the third or fourth 90-degree day out of the last 5 or 6. But I mean, we're not talking about exceedingly hot temperatures. We're not talking about 95 to 100. We've been making it up to and above 90. But I agree with you, Joe. The humidity factor, the dew point temperatures have been really making it very uncomfortable. And I also agree in the fact that on Tuesday, it looks like we're going to get the worst of both. I think we're going to see temperatures here in the Hudson Valley on Tuesday somewhere between 95 and 100, with dew points above 70, and heat indices probably at or maybe even above 105 degrees. In fact, Tuesday we may break the record at the Westchester County Airport, the record which was set during the very hot summer of 1999, 25 years ago, was 95, and I think that we will get to at least 95 at White Plains Westchester County Airport on Tuesday. Usually, while a lot of places in and around the tri-state area get, into the 90s, White Plains, actually, it's not even White Plains, it's Harrison. The town of Harrison is where the airport is located, or the boundaries are where Harrison is. They get a light sea breeze off of Long Island Sound, and that holds temperatures down several degrees from other areas. But I don't think that's going to be the story on Tuesday. I think Tuesday we're going to see temperatures, even at White Plains, top somewhere in the middle 90s, and again, possibly break a record. So it's hot, it's been humid, but as you teased on the Joe and Joe announcement about tonight's show, and I think
the Joe Open.
Yes, we probably are going to be seeing a break in all of this by later in the week, both in terms of temperature and especially in terms of humidity.
Yeah, as far as Tuesday's concerned, I think if you're in Central and South Jersey, if you're in southern Pennsylvania, the southern half of Pennsylvania, and then head down into Maryland, Delaware, Virginia, uh, those areas are going to see temperatures, definitely going to see highs of 100 or higher, and heat indices that'll probably be running between 105 and 110, maybe even a little bit higher in a few places. But the other thing is, at least from what I was looking at, is that we did get, and I was a little surprised, but we did get some cluster of thunderstorms and severe weather this afternoon in southeast Pennsylvania and across central New Jersey. Much of that's died out now. And I think we're going to see thunderstorm chances tomorrow, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And SPC has increased the risk levels, or actually now put some of the area at a marginal risk for tomorrow and for Tuesday. And I think Wednesday might be a day where we could wind up with maybe a slight risk somewhere.
Yeah, it looks like the best chance for seeing thundery weather here will probably come um, uh, later on Tuesday and again late Wednesday and Wednesday night. There might even be a stray shower lingering into early Thursday, but then humidities and dew points are going to be dropping off noticeably and making for a much more comfortable weather regime, even though it's still going to be quite warm later Thursday, Friday, and on into next weekend.
All right, welcome to everybody on the chat board tonight. Hope everybody had a nice weekend. I certainly did. Didn't get to 90 here today, by the way. I got to 87, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it just clouded up, and the temperature's actually been falling. And by the way, I think it was Thursday morning here. My low was 57. It was I had to wear I had to wear a sweatshirt when I uh, went out to the dog park on Thursday morning. It was an absolutely beautiful morning, and actually the mornings here the last couple of days we've been down in the low 60s, so I like that very much. So welcome to everybody on the chat board. Welcome to those of you who are watching in the background. Welcome to those of you who are listening to us on Spotify. Uh, Subscribe to my YouTube channel and subscribe to my Spotify channel too. And you won't miss us. We're on Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. and the occasional Friday and Saturday when there's a storm around. Turn your notifications on so you don't miss us. If you like the show, what should they do, Joe, if they like the show?
Then they have to hit the like button to give us a like. And it's been a while since we've had 100 likes, but maybe tonight we'll get one of those nights.
Well, we'll see. Okay. Um, you know what? A few people have been talking about the tropics because we had that huge burst of activity at the end of June and going into the beginning of July with Hurricane Beryl as a Category 5, and things have been kind of quiet ever since. And they're probably going to stay quiet for a while. And if you look on the visible loop, you'll notice that there's sort of this milky white shading all across the tropical and into the southern portion of the subtropical Atlantic. That is Saharan dust. And that is going to, at least from that standpoint, with the dust there, it does inhibit tropical cyclone formation. Now, on the other side of the equation, if you notice right along and south of 10 degrees north, from say Trinidad to south of the Cabo Verde Islands back to the African coast, there are several disturbances there. But as long as you've got this uh, Saharan dust issue, there is a problem. Also, I'm noticing, Joe, that when you look east of the islands, there are westerly winds aloft blowing some high clouds from west to east. So that's not what you had at the end of June when Beryl formed. That's for sure. And the other thing I want to bring up too is the lower level water vapor imagery. And take a look at how much dry air there is out in the Atlantic. There's an you got a whole ocean, you'd think there'd be no dry air. There is dry air almost everywhere, except for where those disturbances are.
And for the moment, at least, I mentioned this once before. The former director of the National Hurricane Center, Neil Frank, said, you got to understand, July usually is a slack month in terms of tropical activity. So far, we've seen that for the most part, if you want to overlook what Beryl did early in the month. But really, the way things looked like they were heading for, or looked like they were going to they were really cooking for a while. But now things have kind of calmed down a bit. And so the big question is now, when are we going to start seeing things ramp up? Usually, climatologically, they start ramping up middle and latter part of August, but that's still about a month away.
Yeah. As far as watches and warnings are concerned, let's take a look at it at just about everything that we're seeing tonight on on the board is heat related. There are some severe thunderstorm watches that we'll get to those in a moment, but it's all about heat advisories from uh, eastern New England all the way down into South Carolina. We've got excessive heat warnings for central New Jersey, southern Pennsylvania, and some counties in Maryland and into northeastern Virginia. So that's where I mentioned earlier. That's probably where you're going to see temperatures, especially on Tuesday. Probably going to see some 100-degree readings tomorrow in that zone. but they'll be, I think, more widespread on Tuesday. We've got heat advisories in the middle, the central and southern plains, the middle and lower Mississippi Valley, down to parts of the Gulf Coast, and a few pockets where we've got the excessive heat warning up. And out in the west, it's gotten a little bit better. I'm trying to check, I'm not good with these colors, and the excessive heat warning color is very close to the red flag warning color. I'm thinking these used to were excessive heat. Now these are red flag warning. So um, there are some heat advisories out in the west, but the rest of it is all red flag warnings because it has been, it was brutally hot late last week and going into the weekend, but now it's kind of tapered a bit. But it's extremely dry out in the western part of the United States. And as we check out the satellite loop, you can see that little blowup of thunderstorms that formed in southeast Pennsylvania through central New Jersey. That's now moved southeast and weakened and offshore. And you've got these other little ripples to the west across the Great Lakes. One in the eastern, moving into Lake Erie in Ohio. Another one that's now back to Wisconsin. So one of those may probably wind up being approaching sometime late tomorrow. And then if you look up near the Canadian border, you can see the seeds of the next upper trough that's going to come down and maybe make that bigger change along about late Wednesday and bring in some drier air for Thursday and for Friday.
It looks like on the long range models that Thursday and Friday, we could see dew point temperatures drop into the 50s. Consider that the dew points have been hovering right around the 70-degree mark, and times even higher than that, and it will be higher than that over the next few days. When you get temperatures, dew point temperatures to drop into the 50s, I think regardless of whether or not you have a large or a small dip in the temperature, the drop in the dew points really is going to make the difference between how you feel. And it will feel much better out there to be out of doors later on in the week, later Thursday and Friday. They actually drive back up supposedly above 60 for next weekend. But if we're dealing with a dew point temperature next Saturday and Sunday on average of about 62, 63, compare that to dew points of around or above 70, the way we have been putting up with those kind of readings these last few days. So even what normally would be categorized as a muggy day for next weekend still will feel a heck of a lot better than what we have been having to deal with in the last several days around here, Joe.
2 points on Long Island. I forgot what day last week it was. We're up at like 74, 75. And I can remember a few days when the dew points were that high there. I mean, you're literally living in a bowl of soup. It's just awful. I mean, it is just awful. And I'm sure will be very happy when that goes away. And you're right, the relative change will be noticeable, even if it goes back to uh, even if the dew points go back into the 60s, as long as they stay, 65 or less, it'll be a far cry from being up with dew points in the low 70s. Radar's not that active locally from Maine down to Virginia. You see a few blips here and there. There's some spotty showers in upstate New York, moving east between Rochester and Syracuse down to west of Binghamton and moving along. And there are some showers and one or two thunderstorms in a little complex here, moving across eastern Ohio down into northeastern Kentucky. You see that yellow box flashed up at the last frame with a severe thunderstorm warning being posted there for a small portion of northeast for West Virginia. We've got a couple of showers in eastern North Carolina. We've got some showers and a few thunderstorms in central Florida. Some patches of thunderstorms and some showers in western Alabama, eastern Mississippi, southwest Louisiana. And out in the west, where they got the red flag warnings up, they actually have a fair amount of shower activity. If we just go back real quick to the loop, you can see there's moisture coming up from California, from Baja California, moving northward, and then also a little bit of Pacific moisture coming in as well. So that's helping to produce some showers and even a few rumbles of thunder in eastern Colorado and down into Arizona. The Storm Prediction Center, they actually added a marginal risk this afternoon for southeast Pennsylvania and New Jersey down into northeast Virginia. And that was sort of a bit of nowcasting, shall we say, by the Storm Prediction Center, which is perfectly okay. Sometimes things change, and you have to change with it. We've got slight risk tonight, western Ohio to eastern Iowa, western Minnesota across North Dakota into northeastern Montana. Excuse me. And we do have two severe thunderstorm watches, one in northern Illinois and northeastern Iowa, the other one up in North Dakota into northeastern Montana. And these areas of risk, you've got 2% areas, one in North Dakota, the other one from eastern Iowa into western Ohio. Now, tomorrow, the Storm Prediction Center has an enhanced risk, eastern Iowa, east to northern Indiana, and this includes Chicago, by the way. And the marginal risk has now been pushed to New York City, all of New Jersey, all of the Hudson Valley, and then except for northeastern New York, and as far south as Delaware, Maryland, northern Virginia, and then back across Ohio, and you can see where the marginal to slight risk is. Also, a slight risk area, western Nebraska, northeastern Colorado, southeastern Wyoming, and the tornado risk in that enhanced risk, Joe, area is 2 to 5%. 2 to 5%. And that is for Monday into Tuesday. And then Tuesday into Wednesday, we've got a large area of marginal risk. And whenever I see marginal risk, I think isolated severe thunderstorms. There could be more activity around, certainly, but as far as reaching severe levels, when marginal to me means isolated severe thunderstorms, possible. From Maine southwestward across Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois, Missouri, then back up through Kansas and into Nebraska. The long range on day 4, Joe, does not have anything. So tomorrow we'll be in the time frame tomorrow night to look at the SPC Wednesday forecast, and I'm thinking they're going to probably put in some risk with that approaching front.
I don't see how they can't. I understand that they're a little bit, that they feel it's a chancy situation to put that on day 4, but as you pointed out, tomorrow, that time frame, Wednesday into early Thursday, will be time zone or day 3, and I'm sure they will have, at the very least, marginal over a good part of our area with that approaching weather front. And that's, as I said, looks like a pretty good front. That front looks like it's going to usher in a nice surge of much drier and less humid air for later in the week, so Thursday and on into Friday.
The rainfall amounts. Now, I'm actually a little excited for this because they've got uh, northern Georgia in an inch and a half to 2.5 inches plus, and I can tell you right now, it's so dry that in some places the ground is it's cracking, so that's not good. And although the grass isn't burning up yet, but if it doesn't rain soon, and I'm talking about a good, solid soaking rain that lasts more than a couple of hours, it's going to start getting problematic here. We also have inch and a half to 3 inch plus amounts across North Carolina into South Carolina and southeastern Virginia. So we're going to have this frontal boundary coming down from the north and then settling to the south across the mid-Atlantic states. That will be bullish for rainfall areas south of that frontal boundary and also just north of the frontal boundary. In the northeast and northern mid-Atlantic states, it's mostly a half to 3/4 of an inch there. There's some heavier rain being indicated for northern Illinois and into Indiana, also across southern Missouri into southern Illinois, where we've got inch and a half plus amounts there. And you've got some heavy amounts in New Mexico back to Arizona of up to several inches. And when it rains out there several inches, that's a big problem.
Yeah, and in fact, if you want to give me sharing capabilities, I have the Thursday updated drought monitor map, and we can take a look at your situation in the southeastern part of the country.
Well, by all means, do share.
Okay, I will do that right now. And you should see it on your screen momentarily. And this is the U.S. Drought Monitor. This again was released last Thursday, July 11th, although the data is valid, as is normally the case, on Tuesdays at 8 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. But again, they get the data, I guess they work on the map and statistical information, and then release it on Thursday. So this is the very latest Drought Monitor map. And as you can see where Joe happens to be, in the northern part of Georgia, we're talking about everywhere at the very worst, at the very least, I should say, in the D0 or abnormally dry category. But there are a lot of places across the northern third of Georgia that is now settled into a moderate drought. You can see the area of red indicating extreme drought, and that would be in South Carolina. In fact, if I zoom in on South Carolina, we would be including Florence County in that, Marion County, and Horry County, as well as the counties of Lee and Sumter and Clarendon counties. So those counties, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, there are 7 counties in South Carolina that rank extreme drought. But meanwhile, as I said, for much of northern Georgia, it ranges from a D0, abnormally dry, to a D1, moderate drought. And again, if they don't get any rain soon, that very quickly, those areas will probably go up one category to moderate to severe drought. So they could use whatever water, whatever moisture they can get, and hopefully they will get it sometime over the next several days. Although, as Joe also pointed out, if it's going to last only an hour or two, that's not going to do much good. They need really a soaking rain, a long duration rain that will last more than just an hour or two, and hopefully that will happen so that we can improve upon that U.S. Drought Monitor map by Thursday of next week.
Okay, Brandon Doherty, by the way, hitting super chat tonight. Thank you, Brandon, for doing that. It is most appreciated indeed. And as that was really odd. It flipped you.
What happened?
No, it's flipped the screen. You're on the left and I'm on the right. That's
Normally I'm
that's
on the left and you're
no,
on the right.
normally you're on the right and I'm on the left. And
Okay.
that's where we were at the beginning of the show, but then when you shared the screen, when you came back, it flipped the screen. Anyway, it
Oh.
doesn't matter. Either way, you look fabulous, whether you're on the left side or on the right side.
Yeah, if you're wondering,
Um,
people are wondering why I'm so dressed up, today my grandson had his baptismal or his christening, and so we had it at the Old Stone, St. Patrick's Old Stone Church in Yorktown Heights, and then we had a nice little buffet lunch afterwards with friends and relatives to celebrate. I can't believe, Joe, my son is already 5.5 months old, and guess what? He's
your grandson, yes.
my grandson, and he's getting bigger.
It does go by very quickly. It
Yes,
really does. Um, so enjoy the time, enjoy that time.
yes.
Okay, so anyway, just want to go back to WPC just for a moment, uh, because I want to take a look. We'll look at the flash flood potential here,
I'd like to ask
and
also on the chat board, Tobes or Tobes Nwangaju. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, but
you did. It don't matter. Go on.
he's saying on the chat board, he says, everybody please prepare now for a record-breaking cold and snowy winter for the United States of America, starting this winter onwards. And I'd like to know what the basis for that declaration is.
Uh, yeah, I think he said something earlier about the La Nina. How about we get the humidity down at the end of the week first?
Yeah, let's start, take
And, then we'll worry about August and September and get through hurricane season. Okay. And by the time that's done, probably we'll be in November. And then we could start thinking about what the winter's like, what the winter might be like. So anyway, because we don't do long range here, not certainly not in July. We're going to talk about the wintertime. We've got slight risk of flash flooding in southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois, eastern Iowa, northwest Indiana, and southwestern Michigan. Marginal risk from the Dakotas, southeastward to Ohio and western Pennsylvania. That's overnight. And then tomorrow, we have it all concentrated around the Great Lakes. So that slight risk area for flash flooding matches up pretty well with the enhanced risk for severe weather that SPC is indicating. And then on Tuesday into Wednesday, marginal risk I'd probably say north of Route 84, northward in upstate New York to western Vermont and Massachusetts. And then it becomes a slight risk across Ohio, southwestward into Missouri. Now, they only go 3 days, but I think, again, Wednesday is probably the day where we'll have to take a look and see whether we're going to get into some severe weather. And I just want to take a look here at the upper air because as we went through the weekend, of course, we dealt with that system Friday night into Saturday, the building upper high, the Bermuda high, just kind of uh, staying there off the coast. We see that we're in kind of a westerly flow aloft, but the air from Canada is not quite here yet. So, and in fact, that trough kind of drops down into the western lakes. So that's going to help to really heat things up for Monday and Tuesday into Wednesday. The west wind, the west surface wind means that you probably, if you're at the ocean, you maybe literally have to be standing in the water in order to experience a sea breeze. Or if it does come in, it won't come in until after 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon. But other than that, it's going to be hot even near the coast. Now, this is a fairly decent looking shortwave. Let's use the word decent. It has a bit of up to it. It's progressive. It's not a negatively tilted shortwave, in which case probably would be really talking about a big severe weather event. But as long as it stays like this, it'll set off some thunderstorms, and I think it'll set off some storms that could be severe. But the um, the lowering of those heights into the northeast and mid-Atlantic states, Joe, does bring dew point relief for sure, and temperature relief for Thursday and Friday. And then as we go into the weekend, you know, eh, there's troughing in southeastern Canada. That's not that far away, so that probably keeps the temperatures from going too high and the humidity from going too high. And then there's another trough that comes down into New England along about, according to the model, this will be like July 23rd, 24th, and then that goes out. Then maybe it gets hot again before we get yet another trough that drops into the northeast right toward the end of the month. So that's shows you how fast timing, is going because we're already halfway through July. It's
Hard
just
to believe, isn't it? It's really this year is really going fast.
and we say that every year, and it goes faster and faster. Just so you know.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's check out the surface here. So there's a trough, a little weak trough that comes through tomorrow with maybe some showers and storms. You see how the GFS generates precip across upstate New York and in northern New Jersey before evening, and then after the evening hours from Long Island west across Pennsylvania. It's probably going to be some either scattered stuff or some dying stuff. And you see the heavier storms that move through the lower lakes and into Indiana and Ohio and Illinois. Then on Tuesday, maybe another little ripple goes by with some thunderstorms late in the day or in the evening, especially inland. And then Wednesday, I think, is the day where we could see more numerous showers and storms late in the afternoon into Wednesday night. And there's that nice high coming down into the Dakotas, spreading drier air into from the Great Lakes to New England and south to maybe about Virginia, northern Virginia. And I get a little rain here in the southeast, which would be nice. And it stays reasonable. And then there's another little front that comes down around the 24th with a high in eastern Canada. That's a 1025 high. That's pretty strong for this time of year.
Yeah, I agree.
Check the dew points. All right, so you know what? Let's get a close up here and take a look at these dew points. Because when the dew points are 70, it does feel like doo-doo outside. All right, so here we go. You can see here, we got these dew points that came up over the weekend and stay up near 70 during the daytime tomorrow and Tuesday, and then Wednesday, and then here comes, they actually have a 45 dew point in North Jersey Thursday afternoon. So keep your fingers crossed. Yeah, dew points in the 50s for sure. Uh, Developing during the day Thursday and then Friday, and even lingering into Saturday. The dew points, at least for much of the day, will be in the 50s, and then they're still not that high. There's still some 50 dew points on Sunday, so it's kind of fighting this, trying to get it to turn more humid. Now, if you're down in Virginia and North Carolina, you know, if the southernmost area of what we would consider comfortable gets down to northern Virginia by Thursday night into Friday morning, and almost pushes to the North Carolina state line before retreating. So the southeast is going to, certainly stay humid through all of this. And here comes another push of dry air early next week, especially up in New England. Yeah, it's not quite crazy. And then look at that, 45 dew point, 43 dew point. That would be, from our lips to God's ears, that should happen for around July 24th and 25th and 26th.
That would be wonderful. Incidentally, people have been saying, is this going to be the hottest summer on record, and or challenging that? I should point out that at Central Park, 39. That's on the number of 90 plus degree days. The record is 39 in a single summer or in a single year, and that happened twice in 1991 and 1993. So far at Central Park, there has been a grand total of 11 90 plus degree days. There were 6 of them in June. So far, 5 in July, although we're going to add 3 or 4 to that number in the coming week.
Right.
With the temperatures, especially Tuesday and Wednesday, getting into the middle and maybe even on Tuesday, the upper 90s. At Central Park, the highest temperature in June was 94 on June 21st, and the hottest so far in July was July the 8th at 95. So we've had some very hot days, but in terms of the overall numbers of hot days, nothing that really jumps out or stands out. I mean, the normal number of 90 degree days or 90 plus degree days at Central Park in a typical summer is 17. As I said, we so far have racked up 11. We'll probably rack up another 3 or 4 this week to make the number 15 or 14. And we still have the rest of July and August to go through. So we're probably going to end up with a higher number of normal or above normal or 90 degree days this summer, higher than that 17 total. But if you're thinking that we're going to approach or even exceed the 39 that we had in 91 and 1993, I very highly doubt that that's going to be the case. We'll see.
La Fairchild, Joe, would like to know, and I was trying to remember, racking my brain here, the longest, in New York City anyway, the longest consecutive heat wave of consecutive days of 90 plus, I want to say 13.
I think you may very well be in the ballpark. I know that they have listed somewhere on the National Weather Service site in New York that piece of information, and if I can just quickly see if I can call it up. Local data and records, and this would be for Central Park. Temperature, daily lowest, max, warmest, coldest days, warmest and coldest months, seasons, 100 plus degree days, 90 plus longest heat waves. Is that what we're looking for?
Yeah.
Longest heat waves? Okay. So the longest heat wave at Central Park it was not back in the 90s or the 80s or the 70s or even the 60s. The longest stretch of 90 plus degree days was August 24th to September 4th, 1953. 12, count them, 12 consecutive days of 90 plus degree temperatures. And if you want to know what they were in this order from the 24th through of August to September the 4th, 91, 91, 91, 94, 98, 99, 98, 100, 97, 102, 94, and 90. 12 consecutive 90 plus degree days, August 24th through September 4th, 1953. And that was closely approximated, almost exactly approximated in 1999. As I mentioned earlier, that was a hot summer, and we may break a local record at Westchester Airport on Tuesday with a 1999 reading of 95. There was a stretch in 99 of 11 consecutive 90 plus degree days from the 23rd of July through my birthday, August the 2nd, 1999. 92, 97, 97, 93, 96, 97, 93, 92, 90, 98, 90. Not a single one of those days at or above 100. Whereas in 1953, we had two 100 plus degree days. But no, we did not manage to do that in 99 when we had fallen one shy of that 12-day heat wave in 99 with 11. So it has been hot. And we have certainly not had anything comparable, anything near those kind of conditions so far this summer. So for all the people who you've heard, Joe, saying, "Oh, I don't remember it ever being as hot as this summer has been," well, obviously they have a very short memory because 25 years ago, again, we strung together 11 consecutive 90 plus degree days, and we are not going to do that, at least in the foreseeable future this year.
Yeah, that falls into the category of we've never had hot weather in the summer
Yeah,
months.
exactly.
Mark France, you're right. In fact, I was reading the other day that I hope my memory's right. That Philadelphia normally gets highs of 95 or higher 7 times in a given summer, and they were already at like 8. I don't know what the total 90-degree days are, but they are definitely more than New York City. I would venture that there are at least 5 more than I would venture a guess that they're probably running at about 15 or 16 so far. So anyway, I think we covered everything tonight. Did you have Briller Jeopardy?
I think I do. I think I do. Hang on for a moment while I check.
I shall stay here and I will be here. Yes, because
And
I the last one I had was when we already did them, the
yes, Wednesday. It
foreign
was
cities from Helsinki to Madrid.
right. So we do have five more foreign cities, average high temperatures in the month of July. And we will begin this list with Moscow in Russia,
Oh God, that's a good.
average high
Um,
July.
72.
Well, Joe, that's pretty darn close. It's not within snake country, but it is pretty darn close with a 72.
Tobes says 70. Miss Fowlerite's at 73,
Miss Ballerite is in snake country with that 70.
and Maggie P's at 74.
She hit it. She hit it. Moscow, 74 for the average high temperature in the month of July. Now we have Milan, Italy.
Um, I'm gonna say I'm gonna say 80. I'm gonna say 84.
Joe, snake country for you. And the same for Patrick Darcy.
And the same for Tobes again. Christina Pedius at 83. And Thank Kimball says 85, along with Jason Fox.
Jason Fox, you are right, as well as who was the other one? Chuck Cardillo's at
Uh,
85.
Thank Kimball
Yeah,
and
85.
William Uber and Latex and Norm Roberts, all at 85.
And that's the number, 85 for Milan, Italy. How about for Munich, Germany?
Munich, Germany.
Used to be
I
Munich, Germany, but of course now Germany is a united full country again.
I would say I'll say 78.
Executive producer Ruben Fairchild, new bell sound. That just happened to be my the extension of my phone, which I was able to see on the screen. It was my son calling, so my Renata's taking it upstairs. What was the number, Joe, that you had?
I said, and so did Christina Pedia, 78.
78, a little bit on the warm side.
Okay, so Northern Grace says 76. Tobes and Tim, latex 75. Are we getting there?
That's Snake Country, 75.
Which means William Uber at 74 should be correct.
And 74 is on the nose for Munich, Germany.
Okay.
Next is a place which I thoroughly enjoyed when I was the short time that I was there back in 1993, Nice, France.
Oh, it's nice in Nice.
Yes.
Um, oh God. I'll niece. I'll say I'll say 84.
A little bit on the warm side, Joseph.
All right. Thank Kimball says 80.
That is
And
that is snake country territory,
okay, so Patrick Darcy and William Uber say 81,
and that is where
and
that's
that
where
is
it,
correct.
81 degrees. And now our final foreign location tonight. Again, average high temperature in the month of July for Oslo, Norway.
Oh God. I'll say 71. Oh, I did it. Yay.
Hit it, Joe. 71.
71.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't even hesitate on that. I just, first number that popped into my head was
Yep.
71. All right. So I guess that wraps it up. We really don't have too much else going on. Again, everybody try and stay cool, okay, until you get that cold front to get through and bring in dew point relief, which would be nice. And the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast is brought to you by Tempest by Weatherflow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system. Join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link is on the description to this podcast. Use the coupon code.
Oh, so, I'm sorry.
Let me try it again.
summer.
Yeah, right. The link is on the description to this podcast. Use the coupon code.
Summer 2024. I was checking the like hits tonight, and a fairly large number, Joe. 73 likes tonight.
Yeah, not
At least
bad.
on
Well,
my
if you
list.
do use the coupon code, you get.
10% off.
All right. All right, folks. Hope everybody really hope you had a good weekend, and we'll see you tomorrow night at 7:35. And Brandon Doherty, thank you for hitting super chat.
Thank
Night
you.
night.
Night night.